4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go, Tobiloba. Welcome in this Talking with series. We have been waiting for so long, and finally we are here. Let me go on the right side. And so, Tobiloba has been one of the people that supported me the most. Also, he also supports me still now, but like at the beginning, like once he started interacting, and he became a public speaker, open source maintainer, super active in DevRel. Also funny, I don't know. He does videos on YouTube every week. He does many things. He just does only one thing is missing: to meet him in person. This is the only thing that you are missing. After this, you will be perfect. So, welcome, Toby. Welcome, Aria is here. Let's make some noise for Tobiloba. Come on, Tobiloba, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tobiloba. I'm excited to be here. So a bit of intro. My intro always goes in like several ways, but let me just make my intro this time. So I'm Tobiloba. I'm a software engineer and I'm a developer advocate. I work at Next.js and I work part-time DevRel at Tobiloba. So at the moment, I'm currently a third year computer science. I do a lot of open source. Software engineering, front end, mostly. That's my intro.
Nice. So not enough noise, but we are getting there. I see that you are warming up. We are already more than 20 people here. So nice. Now I want to start. So the reason why I invite my friends on YouTube is that we are always busy. I know that we're always busy, but now we can focus for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, because I want to know more about you, the switch of your career. Also, Julia, my girlfriend, she saw your picture of you like transitioning in tech. So with the panels. So you are famous, for real. I say, yes, he's the guy with this. Yeah, for real. So I want to know more about your story, because I think it can be very inspiring, but I never had so much time to read it, listening. I don't know if there is actually someone ever made this thing, but this is talking with Francesco. So I want to know, how did you get into tech? How is your story, and how did you switch career, basically? So stage is yours.
Yeah. So way before, as at like during the COVID period to 2021, I used to. I'm a computer science student currently, so I'm in my third year now. But then I was in like first year ish. So COVID hit. We had like a couple of breakdowns in school, and everything wasn't really running. So we had to like stay at home for a while before we started online classes. So during that time, I was basically just wasting away, being on the internet a lot, being a digital nomad and stuff. And I did that until up until like 2021-ish, until then I went to meet my dad and I was like, okay, I want to learn a skill and I want to start doing stuff, just to be looking for a way to like, be on the streets, and I tried to gain more experience and exposure. So from there, I started doing things like I started doing cable. So there's this thing called DSTV here. I don't know if I should be saying this on channel, but it's like a cable platform that it's very very popular here in sub-Saharan Africa. So I learned that to like be an installer for that and a maintainer. So I was able to maintain for maybe people that had issues with that. Okay, I'm using like open source terms here, but for people like maybe that had issues with their DSTV, I would like go there. I could climb on their roofs at times because that's what it mostly demands because of like the satellite dish and stuff. So I used to do that, like being a cable guy, and I then as well also learned doing installing inverters and solar panels and stuff. So that was what I did for a while. This was like me during the break till school resumed. I was still doing that for a while, like part time, being a student, part time doing that. And then I stumbled upon my roommates one time because I stay in school still, and he was showing me how he was using code. So he was writing something on VS Code. I was doing computer science, so obviously we've done some things like C and Java, but we didn't really go too deep, and it was boring. I saw it as being boring. I was like, what are we even doing? And I didn't even have a laptop. So, but then later on, I started seeing these guys like saying that they're getting paid and stuff like that for doing what. So I just got curious, and then I asked them, okay, what do you guys do that you're getting paid from online? So they were telling me things like Fiverr and them doing gigs and writing code on one editor that translates to beautiful websites. They even sent me links on my phone. I checked them. I was like, oh, this is very nice. So so then I got curious and I asked, okay, how do I learn these things? Because I think I want to be doing freelance work as well. Because I was basically doing freelance with what I was doing in cable and solar. So I was like, okay, I was got curious, how can I use code to also do freelance? So they sent me a couple of resources to YouTube. It went way over my head. I did not even understand anything from HTML, CSS, and JS. Then luckily for me, my school, federal school in Nigeria, had like another strike. Maybe not luckily for me though, because I should be in my fifth year now in university. But then that period, I went, okay, this bootcamp now came about and they were like doing training for people. So I was like, oh yeah, this is a good opportunity. Let me go do front end. So I went through to the bootcamp, registered for front end. It was like $80 then for the full payment for like 12 months bootcamp. Yeah, 12 weeks rather, not 12 months, 12 weeks bootcamp, 2022. That was last year. So I registered, we started around March, started with HTML, CSS, did Tailwind. And from there, I wasn't even on Twitter yet. I thought Twitter was for political stuff and insults and everything. So then I started finding out that, okay, there's actually a tech side to Twitter. And so from there, I started coming on Twitter, doing all these public things. I was enjoying spaces. That was pretty much my journey from like 2020 to 2023-ish. But from there, it still went on to me finding 4C, doing amazing stuff with you guys, Francesco especially, and Avi, Jax. Shout out to everybody literally on the team. I got like maintainership duties to maintain the website. Oktoberfest happened, so that was like my venture into open source. Really, I remember your 12-hour live stream that you did then. That was my first time doing Oktoberfest, and I got all my 4 PRs merged in one live stream. So, from there, I basically went on to Million. Like earlier this year, I reached out to Aiden and we had like a chat. They needed community help, so I volunteered there. It was a very small community, like 20 people ish. So I was like, oh, sure. I volunteered, and up until now, like fast forward to now, rather, we have like over 5,000 people, over 13K stars on GitHub, and community still growing and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that is my journey into tech and where I'm currently at now, and shortened into like how many minutes did I even use? I can't remember, but yeah, that's the highlights. And up until my recent role as well as a DevRel. So yeah, let's stop there for now.
Wow, that was really amazing. I think I'll watch this later because later I want to listen in this because then the chat is going crazy. So I have to also read this, but I'll watch this again after. And it's inspiring and it's hard. First of all, you explained this very well. It's hard to compress our life like in 30 seconds, like the last 3 years, because you do so much stuff. You do so much stuff in the correct way. I see you are very good at engaging with people, which takes of course energy, but it's you get something
It
like
does.
you help everywhere, you're literally everywhere in all spaces and post always active, and it's similar, let's say, to my style, but you are taking this really on the next level. Amazing. I feel honored that like you told like the past story. So
Yeah, thank
nice.
you.
I mean, no, of course, yes. We have so I in this episode, of course, we talk about your story, but I also wanted to integrate this with some technical things. I would say, for example, we would like to talk about open source. I see that you are a huge fan. You are advocating for open source, for tech, and it's great. And it's great. That's really great as a mindset, I would say.
Yeah.
So let's start with the most basic question. What's your definition of open source? How you will define open source to a friend? Let's say someone who just got started with development. They did a couple of hello worlds and then they stumble into this world. Like, what is this? Like, so how would you describe this in your own words?
Yeah. So I think the ideal way that I would introduce open source to somebody that has absolutely no idea about open source is I would be like, oh, okay, imagine your skill set at the moment. Okay, maybe you know how to write Hello World, or you know how to, or maybe you have like the goal to, okay, master C# or master C++ or something, or you want to master how to write documentation based on, because it's like it's different, but I'm going to say a very generic intro now and create a scenario. So I think the scenario would be like, hey, yeah, you can do this or you can do that. How about you actually find a community of people that actually share the same goals as you or share the same experiences or have the same skill sets that you are looking for, and join that community of people, work with them on something they are building and they are pushing, and then you can actually use that as an opportunity for you to improve your skill sets and for you to grow into whatever you want to become. So I think that is the attractive power of open source that I would, push to that kind of person. And I'll tell them this is an opportunity for you to make, a lot of friends and connect with so many people all over the world. I mean, that's exciting, yeah. So the two benefits, you get networking, and then you also get to learn stuff and build up in your own specific field. So I think that is one way I would these are two things that I would say to somebody that has absolutely no idea about open source to help them, uh, you know, find meaning as to what it is. I won't even talk about those other fancy technical parts. I'll just say those two things.
No, this is a really, I really love this. I think it's one of the best definitions of open source that I ever heard, because you didn't even mention the technical part and the code. But this is true, because to get someone excited, it's better to talk about what you can get out of it. And
Yeah,
you mentioned community, people, doing things together. And then you will get to the technical things, how you can make a PR. But that's secondary.
yeah,
That's how you do it. But this
yeah,
is what is. So this is,
yeah,
I think Tobiloba made an amazing job also in doing this in a live stream. This could have been like a viral short, and he did this like live here, like just for you that are watching here. So this is why you should support him. I'll put, of course, the link of Tobiloba in the description. Of
Mhm.
course, you have to follow him and support him whatever he does. And nice, really, really, really amazing. Really loved this definition. I need to watch this live stream again once it ends. Nice. Tobiloba, I would like to ask you more about the stack. Someone asked about the stack because we are developers. It's like our I don't know. It's like what we talk about is like we like to talk about the technologies. So,
Mhm.
is there any specific technology that maybe you like? For example, if for the 4C community, you worked on a Next.js project. So, which are the technologies you like the most or you use the most? Just to, let's say, talk more like for among developers, let's say.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, this is technical stuff. Yeah, so I do front end a lot, and what I use for my front end stack, I use React, Next.js. I write Svelte as well, but yeah, not really like in my profession. But yeah, that is what I work with a lot. I use JavaScript, use TypeScript, and I use Python very well as well. So I think those are my field of specialties, I guess. But the other things I try to figure out sometimes. I write a bit of Java, but it's just for school stuff. But yeah, that's what my idea of my tech stack. So I like to think of myself as, okay, I'm doing software engineering. So, and as a software engineer, you would have so many things to actually think about. Tools and technologies will be the list of your problem. So you are just thinking, how do I solve this problem? How do I do this and this? What are the things to achieve this? So yeah, that's what I do.
Nice. No, no, nice, nice, nice. So first of all, this is also important for me because I think like something that happens like for us, like doing a lot of stuff, a lot of different things. So DevRel,
Yeah.
communities, open source, public speaking. Now I want to witness. I want to record Tobiloba's presentation, but live. Like I want to be as an attendee and record him and take some cool pictures. Then after I'll sell to him. But it's but no, it's important, and I like that you are focused currently on something.
Mhm.
So we have a couple of questions. I don't know if you did you ever tried the Go language, for example? This is just a question. If
Oh,
you
so
ever tried it or not.
funny thing, yeah, I had this opportunity to actually try Golang. So it was for a couple of projects that I was meant to like do, like maybe like task or like fun projects that I was meant to implement in Go. But I just entered it into TypeScript instead. So, but I haven't tried Golang yet. But it's something that it's definitely on my to-do list because as a software engineer, if you still have to think of things like multilingualism, by the moment I write JS, write Python, Golang would be a very good addition, I guess, because I've heard great things about the language, but there hasn't been that reason or need for me to actually write it here.
It's the same for me, let's say, same experience with Go language. I even made a video about Go language.
Yeah.
I like it, but I need a reason. There was a period, for example, some years ago, I wanted to learn all the programming languages. This was before social media. So I said, I want to do everything. But at some point, you need to decide, okay, I like this, but let's put this in a box on the shelf. When you are right, when I need a project, say, okay, let's decide the stack. Why? Let's try it. So I don't know. I want to make a backend of an application. Let's try this. So I like this approach more than learning a language just for the sake of learning a language. Think about, I don't know, learning French just for the sake of learning it. It will be a bit strange. So it will be something that it's better to learn it. You use a language when you're about to use it. So
yeah, I mean, purpose gives you focus. Like when you have purpose for something, it just gives you that focus that, okay, yeah, you need to do this and this. Yeah, exactly like you said.
Nice. Thank you so much, James. This is just not a question. It's just a compliment, basically, for me and for you. So thank you so much, James. It's really, really important. Yeah, let's see. We're starting getting questions. So this is the first good thing. So feel free to drop the question. If you put a Q at the beginning, it's better. It's better in brackets. Otherwise, I might miss it because we have so many people asking questions. So
speaking from experience.
yes, and so today I felt bad to say, okay, will we have questions? Because usually Tobiloba is super active in the chat. Since now he's here, I mean, maybe he is able to make a question to himself, but we don't need it. So good growing open source. If you have open source communities that are focused on Python, or let's say generic, or if not generic growing open source community.
Yeah, I know a couple of open source communities around, and I also know this booming Python community. Some open source communities that I know of. I know of Chaos. I know of Edio. And Chaos is like this global community, the Chaos project. I know of Edio community, a very huge community out there for open source, like maybe the biggest even for open source by Ed Jaude. And I know of what other open source community is there? I know of open source, and then where I work currently, Tobiloba. So they do so many open source stuff as well, and help people on board into open source and stuff. So as for Python communities, I think maybe you should check out Dennis Ivy's community. Dennis Ivy's community is one of the first communities that I joined, and I was actually in this community. Funny thing, I was in this community way before we actually got connected, because I was mind blown. The first time I got a DM from Dennis Ivy, I was like, wow, this is happening right now. Yeah, I was shocked. So yeah, Dennis Ivy's community is very good, and Krish can testify to some open source communities that I just mentioned right now. Yeah, thank you for that question.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, since you are here, go click on Toby Solutions and follow him on Twitter. While you must stay here, so keep watching. And I think that somewhere I should still have the live stream that I made with Dennis Ivy. We were talking about one of your projects. So one day I'll dig into that. I'm sure that this live stream is still available. So this is how we got in touch at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we made it. So this is how things can change. So we have so many questions that I want to go fast on these. This was one of my questions, Devan. So thank you so much for dropping it in the chat. How to find a project to contribute? Let's say that I decide, okay, you convinced me. Say, okay, I'm with you. I like this idea of open source. Now what? How can I find a project to contribute? So do you have any tip for this?
Yeah, the way I still find open source projects that I contribute to on GitHub all the time, because I basically live on GitHub most times. So I think the idea is that most times I go from the human centric from the community centric approach here. where I basically just join communities and see, okay, maybe they have 1 or 2 open source projects that might be fun to work on. But in your case, if you're a developer or something, I'd advise, checking projects that you already work on, or that you already use, rather, not work on projects that you already use. Like, for example, practically everything that we use as software developers is open source, like React, Next.js, what else is there? Preact, Vue. Most of these things, our technologies that we use, even packages we install, they are like open source projects. You can be like, okay, you can just get curious and be like, okay, who made this? Then from there, you can just simply Google it or look it up and find, okay, where does this community live? Could be a Slack, could be a Discord. I would advise going through this way, like joining the community first before even going to look through either their GitHub or their GitLab, whatever it is they are using. I advise joining the community to understand, okay, how the people there are, the active contributors, you see them there in the server, the active maintainers. You can simply have conversations, have coffee chats. That way you actually even get exposed to some issues that are technically not even labeled in the issues on GitHub, and then you can just use that as a cheat code to go and raise those issues on GitHub, let them assign you, and then close those issues. So these are some like tricks that you can technically use to get yourself to familiarize with such projects. But also there are several other things that could come in, things like passion for that project. Like, for example, if you really love a project, or if you love the problem the project solves, it could easily make your work very easy, because that way there's already the drive to actually work on that project or contribute in any way possible and stuff. But I would advise using these techniques to actually find projects and contributing and stuff.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Tobiloba. Thank you. Thank you, because this is I see many people are stuck here on like how to find a project to contribute to, and I think that you gave very solid advices. We are getting so many questions, but we'll try to answer them all. I just want to say, let's try to go more on the technical part, and then we'll also switch to DevRel. That might even be a 4 hours episode. We'll try to stick this to 20 minutes. But you know that DevRel can literally speak for 10 hours straight without stopping. If I just say DevRel, I can just it will be
so many things
and we'll be done, because there is so much to learn about it. But we will do this later. So let's try. So okay, let's see if we have. So do you have some experience in other languages like Rust? Did you ever try it or just heard something? I think we have a questions by this, and he's asking about scalable backend. So this is very technical, of course. Feel free to answer from your point of view. So do you have an idea, or like have you ever compared the languages?
Yeah, so of course, I've had like some interfaces with Rust, but with Rust, I was basically just testing it out to see, okay, because I have experience writing C from school stuff. So I was like, okay, there's this new shiny thing. I think it was from you even that I was like interested in Rust from your Rust course. I basically like followed that there, and from there it piqued my interest. So I basically tried setting it up on my Linux back then. I ran a couple of programs, built like tiny things, but it was just to understand okay, how the DX was, and just to see how it worked. But for building applications, I actually didn't go that far to use either Go or Rust to build backends. But I've actually done worked on a couple of projects, like experimenting with WebSockets, because I don't do front end work, but at times I get excited by trying new things. So I just like spin up demo projects at times, just to test out things maybe in Express or Nest or something, just to try to see, okay, how does this work? How do I make WebSockets and emit events I can listen to on the front end? How do I use MongoDB and stuff like that? But SQL, I haven't gone as far as SQL. But yeah, that is something. But then one of my friends, Wilchen, actually linked me up to like a Web3 thing, and then turns out for Web3 stuff, you need like things like Rust and Anchor. I think Anchor is a Rust framework. Yeah, Idris.
I mean, you mentioned Web3, and we have Idris in the chat. So we mentioned mentioned the devil basically. Yeah. Nice. So I would like to to have this question by Idris right now. By the way, hi, because I think this might be very interesting because he's been contributing to a few projects. I've also contributed to his project last year in Oktoberfest. Happy to do more in 2024. Yes, we should do more collaborations.
Definitely.
I noticed you already share some tips on how to find projects, but what if I'm interested into something specific? So you can decide maybe from your point of view or anything you want, but what if we want to drill down? This can be, I don't know, web development or DevOps. There are like so many niches that are even hard to mention them all. So which are your thoughts? Let's say if I want to be more intentional, more specific in finding a specific project.
Oh yeah, it's a good question, by the way. By Idris, Idris is a very experienced DevRel, so so I'm just going to answer this from my own perspective. You can, So, to finding projects in a specific niche. So I obviously do. Like I mentioned, I do front end and I use TypeScript and JS. So I mostly look for projects most times in that niche when I'm looking for projects. But the idea I use is that the thing with most of these communities is that one community actually links to another. So if you are in one community in your specific niche, one way or the other, you can just by simply asking or something, you can get recommendations or something from contributors that you probably interacted with as to, okay, check this out, they're doing something interesting here. These are some ways you can actually get links to some of these other projects that are within that niche. Because when it comes to open source, you are right, it's very good to niche down because that way your activities and your things you do are actually more directed and more targeted. Because other than that, it's like you're just doing something like a normal contributor. Because when you're doing open source, it's good to be intentional and direct things you do such that there are mutual benefits here. Projects you contribute to get to be improved, and you also get to improve your skills. So this is a very good question to as to how to find projects which is more around you just having simple conversations. Twitter is a very good resource, by the way, as well. You can simply just find a project on Twitter and see some people link into other projects like that using tools like maybe Daily Dev. Daily Dev also have Find Million, by the way, and yeah, those are some other things you can use as well. Those are ways I use them. These are like random things I say because sometimes I do them like a reflex action to find projects, but this is me trying to put my reflex action into words.
Yes, so we just answered. So thank you so much, Toby. You are very knowledgeable, especially for your age. You take this as a compliment. So it's like you are already speaking at top level class speaking. This is live, by the way, it's not recorded. And so we answered one question, and we have 3 more. So we'll never get out of this live stream. So you can sit down, relaxed, because we will never get out of here. So, and also this question is related to this topic, and is also related to what I do, what I love. Let's say my little world of containers. So, any recommended open source community for DevOps? If you want, I can get you covered, but I'll let you go first.
From the way I would approach this, when it comes to things DevOps wise, DevOps involves so many things. So obviously there are people that maybe do all this pipeline stuff and people that write workflows. So instead of you looking at it from a perspective of communities that are just DevOps oriented, because DevOps is a field that can basically work with any other field. You can look at it from a perspective of you finding projects that need DevOps help. Because that way, obviously, they might have maybe 1 or 2 people in the community that already do DevOps stuff that you can reach out to and connect with and be like, okay, this project, how are you handling the DevOps? How do I help out? Is there a community for people that are managing maybe the workflows or the pipelines? Can I contribute there to also share my ideas? These are some ways you can still use your DevOps skills to actually be in like subgroups within communities that are DevOps focused, or you can also go out large to look for bigger DevOps communities. I'm not exactly sure as to any DevOps communities that I've seen around that do open source stuff, but I think I know the Kubernetes community, and it's very big. I have a friend that contributes there as well actively, and Docker. I'm not exactly sure how Docker handles their open source things, but maybe Francesco can answer.
Okay, I'm that close to kick you out of this live stream now. I'm joking. So just a small thing. Docker started as an open source project since the beginning. To be honest,
Okay.
short story. Docker was a side project of a bigger company. It was called the Dot Inc. Something like this.
Oh,
This
damn.
project became so big, then they closed the company and they created a company called Docker. So this to give you an idea of like how much
Okay.
Docker is into open source. Docker, they
Okay.
shut down a company and they raised this company. The reason is that when they open sourced this tool, it was a tool for them to automate their own buildings back then, 2013, 11 years ago. They started to have contributors from Microsoft, Red Hat. So this small company got more contributors from big companies than their own paid developers. So they shut down the company, created another company called Docker. So this is a bit of story, but Docker is kind of open source. It's an interesting thing. End of the Docker history lesson. But yes, you can check. There are many projects I think involved, because DevOps is full of tools, and most of them are open source. I think Kunal made a presentation only on DevOps open source tools, only on the DevOps open source tools, and I think he mentioned like 20, 30 in one presentation. So there are enough open source DevOps tools for now since 2040. So no worries. Nice. I'm getting excited because we mentioned Docker. We should make a collaboration of me Dockerizing some project somewhere with you.
That would be fun.
Yes, absolutely. So, small community or big community? Where can we shine more? The question is, do we really need to shine? But like, what's our goal? I would say, if your goal is to shine, I don't know. So, what is your suggestion? Let's say for the communities, which are you more a fan of, and what is a big community? By the way, 1,000 is big, or one? I don't know. I think it depends, but you can give your point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the person is is trying to think of big communities like maybe a scale of 100K or small community scale of 200, 500. But I don't think the idea is about shining really, because when you do community work, it should be more about how am I because obviously you have to think of benefits, like it doesn't have to be monetary. Very number one pointer, because most people think of like financial returns and everything first before they actually make contributions. At times that might be a bummer, because you can actually still have a lot of value to offer out without even having without even being paid for that. So to start with, I would say just do your own thing. Make friends within the community, and just try to find ways possible to put the community out there, such that people are finding about that community through you. So you're like a pipeline, you're like a bridge to that community and what the community's activities are. I think that is sometimes the goal. That gives you maybe shine that you're looking for, like an ability to shine, because people get to know that community through you, and people come in to actually help out in ways that you maybe didn't even think about before. But I think regardless, it depends. But maybe if you're talking about impact, your impact can be felt more in smaller communities than in bigger communities, if you think about it that way, because bigger communities already have like maybe a lot of these things set up, and maybe when you're coming in, it can be a bit difficult to try to even put some things right order. But if you figure out problems or pain points that a big community has, that might be a way for you to come in. But in smaller communities, it might be more noticeable. Your impact will be more noticeable through some of those communities. I think those are my answers to that question.
Yes. So he meant shine means to get promoted to maintainer, and we have an example here because Tobiloba became a maintainer of the project. My small tip is this: don't get in a community and start asking, "Can I be a maintainer? Can I be a maintainer? Can I be a maintainer?" Because people don't know you. So first, show interest and being active in a community. Say like, "I can help here if you want," but if people don't know you, they are not going to trust you. That's normal human behavior. So start being active in a community for a while. See if you like the community. You don't have to. Your goal is not to just become a maintainer everywhere. And we are connecting this to the DevRel thing. We are moving to the DevRel thing soon. The goal is not just to be a maintainer no matter what. is to be useful for a specific community, and maybe you become a maintainer if it makes sense. So yes, just hang out for a while, like Jake did. Now he's proposing to become a maintainer of one small projects, and that's it. You need to give people time to know yourself. I mean, if you're already friend, okay. If you've been knowing for 3 years, it's okay. But if people don't know you, I would suggest to give yourself time, test the ground if everything works, and then one thing that I can promise you, there is always stuff to do in a community. You are not gonna get bored. There is always stuff to do, things you can be improved. But maybe I'll suggest to first watching, first wondering, and then first checking, and then you'll see. Nice. Okay, I think we will move now onto the real part because we're already 40 minutes in this one. Nice. Tobiloba, I asked this to almost 200 people. So let's go. You already know what's the question. So the question is, what is DevRel? Stage is yours.
So I was actually, funny thing, I was actually in a Twitter space overnight discussing some of these topics with a few people active in this Nigerian DevRel space. The way I would define DevRel is this. So when we speak of DevRel, we speak of people that mostly think of it like an HR, but you are for developers. You are an HR that is tailored to developers. And now this can be several roles depending on what the product is and what your company does, or whatever it is you are doing it for. So because essentially you might be the bridge between the developers and the core team or the product, because there has to be that communication flow. You will be the pipeline between the people outside, your users, in this case, which are the developers, and the company, which is the product. Or it could be variant in some cases where your role would now differ based on the setup of the company. For example, if it's developer tooling, now it's different. You are the bridge between engineering, and you are the bridge between the developers and the tool users, the companies that are using your tool currently in production. So anything happens, developer experience is bad, they have to write too much code to do 1+1. That is your problem. So now you need to take that problem and find a way to be a nagging girlfriend to your company, essentially. So that is one way I would think about it. And then developers need help. You would also be that person to step in and be like, okay, do we need tutorials? Do we need courses? Do we need help here? Do we need to set up a forum, a chat? Do we need a one-on-one call, community calls to get some of these things on the go? Yeah, that is what I would define in a nutshell as to what my experience or my opinion of DevRel is, because it's a lot of things and it's broad. Francesco can testify.
Yes, absolutely. So before getting into the questions, we already getting one, but I want to start.
Oh, you're muted.
I'm on muted. Thank you. Sorry, I am muted these 2 times. So it's like when you would like double not like a variable, and it's like that one. So my question is basically this one. I'm sorry. Your experience in being DevRel, because you had, I would like to sit down and maybe understand from you, because you advocated for some companies. I think you have also some big news to share. So I would like to know your path. Maybe I missed something. So what's your experience, your path, even with companies, and what's your what's your knowledge, and how do you feel?
Basically, this is my answer. So Francesco can testify to this as well. So I basically was a content creator around 2022. So while I was growing, while I was learning new things, I was creating content. While I was doing my open source contributions, I was creating content. Or sometimes I do. It was during that last year time that I started doing my live streams to sometimes emulate what a DevRel already does. So I was basically doing DevRel stuff without even being aware of it. I was doing things like coffee chats, networking, going to events, doing most of these things that I didn't know was DevRel stuff, and I was still doing my open source stuff. So when Million needed that help community-wise, I was like, okay, this might be a way for me to step in, because I already do a huge majority, a huge chunk of these things that Million needs. Because it was a community that needed to grow. They didn't have a Twitter, they didn't have a LinkedIn. but they needed. I was like, oh wow, this is something I can help out with. So stepping into that role and bringing some of these experiences that I had into that, and I still made several other mistakes along the way, which also refined me to learn more new things. I technically would say dev advocating for an open source project based on my open source background and my content creation background is my experience doing DevRel stuff because as a content creator or as an open source contributor, you get things like feedback that makes you improve and change. You get to learn new stuff. You get to maybe read one or two things there. You get to meet new people, connect with very good developers, amazingly good developers and engineer. You get to meet so many people from all over the world. So it's like you're basically training yourself or molding yourself to be develop ready, but you can decide whether or not to make a career in it. So I basically just decided, okay, let me do DevRel and see what the field is about. So I think that would be my journey into developer advocacy. And then until recently, I got like this offer to be a developer at a company called Tobiloba. And so because they were like, the CEO reached out to me and was like, I was everything they were looking for. And I was like, this is crazy. So I was like, yeah, sure, I would love to come by and see. And we made the negotiations and I joined the company as the DevRel.
Absolutely, and for once, Krish is saying something wise. Remember to follow Tobiloba, as you can see him. So let's do what Krish is suggesting. I have one more question, and you can start dropping your questions, mostly about DevRel now, and then we'll wrap up this first episode with Tobiloba. One thing that you like, and one thing that you don't like about being a DevRel, like first thing that comes up in your mind, something that you like, something that you don't like.
Okay. I think it would be one thing I like about being a DevRel is that I like it when people share testimonies of how things that I DevRel for, things that I represent has helped them improve. Those messages are always good. Like they could be just one sentence, but it always makes my day when I see that okay, somebody used something that I represent or something I work with and say, oh, this thing changed my life, or this thing changed my project, or this thing basically made this so and so faster. And so that basically makes my day. Whenever I see it, I just light up and I keep smiling. But one thing that I don't like about DevRel, I think it would be the idea that in one way or the other, you always have to be in the loop of the product. I always think sometimes I always like try to imagine myself being to see the future and know okay everything that would already happen to the product so that I can decide whether or not to form my strategy like from the beginning because I've seen the future. But because that is not possible, so obviously you need to be out there all the time. Monitoring the product as well because you're also an integral part of the product. You might not be the one funding it, but you have like a very huge say regarding things on the product and what people are saying about it. So you need to be out there monitoring, gathering information, also trying to see, okay, are there some improvements that can be made? So you are basically in the loop all along the way. So I think that might be one thing that I have, some second thoughts on. It's probably there, but I wouldn't say I hate it totally because I still like it, but yeah.
Yeah, of course, but we can do something even if you don't like 100%.
Yeah.
So for me, it's because you have to so many things, different things to do. You have to wear many hats.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are full energy, full mental health, full physical health, you can keep it. When you're a bit tired, it's harder to keep up with multiple activities, multiple things. You might forget something very important because there are so many things. So
exactly.
yes. Nice. Yes, I'm a developer. Your chat works. Hello world, I can see. So yes.
Hello.
Nice. So can you tell us some people who you think that are doing things right in DevRel? Some people who are like say that inspired, or maybe that you think that they are doing good because DevRel can be tricky. So no, I don't like 100% of DevRel. Usually I like them, but like which are some people that you think that they are doing it right?
Yeah. So I have I already have a list in my head of people that I go to for several things. It's like right here. So I think my top 10 would be Francesco Siola. So shout out to Francesco. Francesco would be my number one.
I'm out of league. Yeah, thank you.
So Francesco, my number two would be Kelsey Hightower because it has like so much experience in that field. Number three would be the queen of DevRel on Twitter, which would be oh my god, I'm trying to remember, and Angie Jones. Angie
Angie
Jones, the queen
Jones.
of
I was sure that we were talking about her. Yeah.
Angie Jones. Number four, Rizal Scarlett. Rizal used to work at GitHub, but then she works at TBD now. I think it were five company or something.
I
A
met
very
her
good
in
friend, right?
person. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm on number four now, right? So I think number five would be Idris Oluvise, which is Olanet Soft. So he's
You made it, Idris. You made it.
and then my number six would be Anthony Fu. So Anthony Fu is not technically a DevRel, but he basically does a lot of things that centered around it, because there are people like this too that do things that are not even DevRel related, but they are basically still a DevRel in one way or the other. So Anthony Fu, my number six, and the number seven would be with Dennis Ivy, obviously. So Dennis Ivy is like a very huge role model and stuff like that. So because I followed this journey as well. Uh, number eight would be hmm, uh, my number eight. I think Gift works at Cloudflare. So Gift is the sole organizer of CityJS Conf in Lagos, in Nigeria, basically. So she's she's one of like my very top people and role models as well. Um, Number nine, I'm going to slide in Asan there. Asan used to work at Vassel, and now, but I think he left Vassel a couple of weeks ago. So Asan, the creator of Room GPT, one of the biggest projects out there that took us by storm. Yeah, it took us by storm in like earlier this year. Yeah, I think it was earlier this year. And my number 10, which is the last but not the least, would be my number 10, which is the last but not the least, would be YK for sure. YK is YK.
You made it,
think
YK. Last but not least. Yes.
Yeah, those are my top 10.
Yes, of course. Don't be disappointed, because sometimes like we are so many people. Sometimes I say, "Oh, how could I forget about this?" Because there are so many people working in DevRel. So don't get disappointed. I asked. This was not a prepared list. Tobiloba is just thinking out loud with what's up now in his head. But yes, so I like that with DevRel you can collaborate with many people, and you can do many activities. And for me, it's mind blowing that you're currently working while you're doing this. And I will never get used to this. Like even I work, I'm daily dev, I can mention it, how cool it is. But it's mind blowing. So absolutely.
Thank you.
Nice. So I'm really enjoying this first episode with Tobiloba. We will plan more collaborations. I want his channel to grow, so be careful, because I think in 2024 he might be back with some very cool stuff. He's very natural in front of the camera. I don't know why he's not like pushing harder and all, but I think you can do a lot there. It's a lot of work, but you have the numbers.
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you.
Nice. So before we leave, there is an important question that I think we can end the live stream with, which I think it's a question that I saw this more often than what I want to admit, because I see this person is asking, like, I started contributing to open source since Oktoberfest. It's absolutely fine. Oktoberfest is meant to be for that, to get started with open source. Perfect. But now I'm aiming to get into GSOC 24. Should I wait and practice more, or at least try it? So should you wait or practice more?
Google Summer of Code, a very good initiative by Google to get people into the open source and stuff. There are so many other things like that. It's MLH, then there's Outreach and some other programs like that. So I would say my short answer would just be go for it, because what's the worst that can happen? You might make a couple of mistakes, but you're not going to be it alone. You know, the fun thing about these programs is that you're not just going to be the only one there. Obviously, you have people like mentors, which makes it easier for you. But in cases of people like me that powered through making all those mistakes and having some fallbacks and stuff, but still found a way to get out of it, for you it will be easier because you have people like mentors, you have people that are on the journey with you as well, that you can just partner with and connect with, and you guys can relate on several things. So that way it's like it's a good opportunity for you. I'll say go for it, because it will really help you a lot in so many ways that you can't count, and it will help you get over so many hurdles that you might face in open source, like burnout and several other things that happen in open source. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I like this approach, and I like what you said. You can't break things. Even if you make the worst possible PR, it's still a responsibility of the maintainer to check it before merging. So if you break things, something wrong happened in the pipeline. It's like saying, I don't know, if you work on a project I don't know, building a house, it's not a single person fault. It's always a fault of multiple people. So
Exactly.
okay, nice. So nice. We already mentioned some open source projects. Do you have something more to mention? And then we can start to wrap up. A Hyperduma and highlight cycle. You come hand in hand. So recommended open source projects for people, because now we have open source projects for AI. So this is an open source project for people, for humans.
So a few shout outs to a couple of projects that I would give out there. I would say you should check out projects like check EDIO, for example. Projects like BioDrop are projects that can be a good opportunity for you to actually get started doing open source stuff. Projects like Content Box that Francesco does, free Web3 resources. Those are very nice projects. With some of the things that helped me along the way, learning a couple of other things open source wise. Projects like Million, where I do dev advocacy for, they are like, these are projects that have several facades that you can, contribute in several other ways. It doesn't even have to be you writing code. It could just be you making, be you spotting an issue and being like, okay, this is something that I think should be fixed. What other projects would I recommend? I think you should, most times the way I find projects is just by going to resources or communities like Eddie or communities like, or engaging in programs like Oktoberfest, because that way you get open to more open source projects and you get like exposed rather not open. You get exposed to more open source projects that you can ever imagine, and you'll be mind blown as to the amount of crazy things people are building out there.
Love it. We have a thank you for CJ Creations. Amazing. Thank you so much, Tobiloba. I really enjoyed this, our first collaboration. I really wanted to end 2023 in the right way. So inviting Tobiloba on my YouTube channel, it has one of my goals in January. I said, okay, in January, in February, we will do the collaboration. It's December. I said, okay, I didn't invite Tobiloba yet. This happened with all my friends. Say, oh, we'll do it soon, and then it's December. So, Pradumna would like to get started with open source. In quotes, Pradumna is absolutely joking, but maybe not everyone knows him. So, of course, it's like me asking like for Docker tips, which I think I can always be good, by the way. So you can always learn from each other. But yes, I mean it's interesting. Probably the one thing that I would say is to do more events about open source and invite me and Tobiloba. This is a tip from me. Do you have a tip from Pradumna?
Yeah. So obviously, Pradumna is one of the biggest people out there that teaches us open source and GitHub and Docker, gives us Docker tips. So Pradumna is really big. Yeah, and Eddie, there was a point, funny story. There was a point last year when I Pradumna and Eddie were the people I used to go and consult. I would literally join spaces that they were in to try to get tips from them, because these guys are like they're very good with stuff open source wise and stuff. So Pradumna, I think my tip my tip that I would give to Pradumna is let me just say things because you probably know a lot of stuff regarding this. My tip would be just to find that projects that you can connect to. For example, it could just be a problem really that you found, and here's the thing: for most problems in software engineering and stuff, there probably is an open source project that already solves it. Maybe there's an idea you have, there's an open source project that's probably already doing that. So instead of you trying to reinvent the wheel, I think based on what you already like and what you think about most times, or you are fascinated by, you can just find out which project that you think fits into that, mostly your interest and things you like or things you're passionate about, because that way your contributions to that project and onboarding to it and the excitement would last way longer, because you might get motivated while starting on projects, but motivation will only take you so far. So there are some times where your interest and things you share in common with some projects can just be things keeping you going and be like, okay, we need this to improve, we need that to improve. I've seen this somewhere in another project, we need to bring that into this project. So I think that would be my tip for how to get started in open source. In open source, yeah.
Yes. So Tobiloba was a series, of course. So it's great to learn from each other. From me, it's more like having events, so you can have more like events where we can discuss. I think open source and DevRel are similar in a certain way. Like we can literally speak about open source for 10 hours, 12 hours. I will never get tired. I get into these spaces every single day, but every time I learn something new, your perspective, something that happened maybe in your life, and so on. So nice. And of course, Tobiloba as a pro streamer is also on the chat while speaking. This is only this is how where you can see that someone is actually a pro. Tobiloba, it's been really a pleasure to have you here. Would you like to leave final message to developers, and then we can wrap up this first episode that I'm really enjoyed? Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, it's an honor to be on your channel. Like, this is amazing. I'm super excited. But I mean, parting words would be, the idea to open source is not really to come into it with like the motivation that you are coming here to make a lot of money, or coming here to become the richest person in the world or something. I mean, most times the idea is just that you are coming here to be a better person, be a better developer, and to make as many friends and connections as you can to actually help you in your career and with your goals. So yeah, I think that would be my final favorite for stream, because that is like 80% of what you do in open source. You can't even be doing open source successfully without having any coding skills. Yeah.
I really loved it. I was listening, but I was trying to do a final shout out to Tobiloba before we leave, because I want everyone in the world. I want Tobiloba to have 9 billion followers. So that's my goal. 9 billion. I mean, let's start with 1 billion. So 1 billion. That's enough, I would say. And then let's see.